Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I guess Rob should probably be saying it to me, huh? Welcome back to Stu and the Nut.
Yeah,
Uh, I've been AWOL for a while, and but it is good to be back. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. The snow is finally melted. I can actually see my front yard again. We had snow for about 2 weeks on the ground. So my 135-pound Great Pyrenees was loving it and would not come in the house.
Yeah, he's
Um,
probably like, I'm not sweating to death here. Thank goodness. Yeah,
yeah,
he's like,
yeah,
it's
he's loving it.
yeah,
So
the
it's gonna be
yeah, it is not
74
going.
degrees tomorrow.
It's how much?
It's gonna be 74 tomorrow.
Oh,
So
yeah,
we
not
had
here.
we had like almost 2 weeks at or below freezing, and got all the snow and the ice, and the city shuts down, and neighbors couldn't
Right.
get out of their driveways, and um, then it's going to be 74 degrees tomorrow. So
Yeah, it is not here. We still have a mountain of snow. It is currently 15 degrees, and looked like the low today this morning was 9. And yeah, I was out actually earlier doing using. I have a roof rake for pulling the heavy snow, especially as it sits and keeps compacting, and it just
sure.
pulls and scrapes it off the roof and that kind of stuff to keep from when it starts melting it and start damming up in the gutters and all that stuff. But I was out doing that for the last 2 days. Did the front roof yesterday and did the back roof today. But the
Do you have a snow blower for your driveway or anything, or do
oh
you
yeah,
shut
there's,
hand shovel? Okay,
you can't live here. Yeah, between Alaska and here, I've had one for a long time. I'm on my second one. My first one lasted a long time, but I finally got a new one a few years ago. They've updated a lot.
I'm thinking about getting a plow for my four-wheeler. My
A
driveway
lot
is
of
almost
people
a
do
quarter
that.
mi-
Yeah,
quarter mile long,
depending on
and
how much snow
so
you get it for that. You can get it for your riding lawnmower. Some dudes I know
sure.
buy a 4 wheeler to get a plow just to get a 4 wheeler.
Yeah,
But
well, I've got a Polaris 700, so I've got a good four-wheeler, good four-wheel drive. But
right,
I live on a ridge line, and so people that live on the backside of the ridge line, when it snows like that and there's ice, they can't get out. I've got a
right.
big four-wheel drive, and I can get anywhere, but I'm thinking about getting a plow for my four-wheeler. So
There you go. Yeah, yeah. It's not going anywhere. I'm looking at my cameras now, and it is, it is piled up and knocking them out. I heard rumor we're going to hit in the 40s next week, but it looks like that's dropped back down. So it is. This polar vortex is. There's a new one coming. We've been. Part of the reason why I haven't been here is I was supposed to have been back from a trip helping my son move, and but then we ended up getting stuck in not in the worst places in South Carolina with our grandkids because the storm before last, that first one it hit came across and hit North Carolina, Western North Carolina, and Eastern Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia. That DC, that first one, there was like one, and then there was another one the next week. Uh, we had to drive through Virginia, West Virginia. If you ever been through those mountains on 77 and Charlotte and 19 and Beckley, West Virginia, and all that, those are not mountains you want to be on ice and snow with. And they were calling for 2 feet of snow up there. So we
ooh,
hunkered down through the weekend and stayed, which extended our trip more before I could finally get back. And then we got back here just before the Carolinas, all the way down to Florida, got hit with snow.
right.
So it's now they're calling for another one coming in this weekend. We have negative sub-zero temperatures here in Western New York this weekend. So it is coming again.
Well, you get a lot of snow, but because you're right off of the lake, because of Buffalo, right? I mean that ice and that cold wind is probably worse than the actual snow. I mean, snow you can drive on and do okay, but when it's completely frozen over,
Well, that's what
um,
we like. We like frozen over because until it freezes over, that's where you get lake effect snow from, right?
right,
So I always call it fake snow because, um, everyone else gets snow from normal weather patterns, but lake effect snow is just wind blowing across open water. It picks up that moisture when it hits the air. It kicks up and just dumps it to
right,
snow. So we look for the lake to be frozen over. I think Lake Erie right now is 95 to 98% frozen over. It's almost 100, but it's already more, and that's because this cold weather we've had. So that has cut a lot of the lake effect snow, which we look for. They actually boom up the lake to slow the water to help it to start to freeze. We want it to freeze, or otherwise, if it doesn't freeze, we just keep getting these narrow bands that you see all the time in the news of just like a foot,
right.
2 foot, 7 foot of lake effect snow in one dump.
Do you do any
And
ice fishing?
it's like a mile wide, or maybe even a half mile wide. Of just you go a half mile outside of it, and there's nothing, and you
All right.
just see the wall of it just dropping right on. It's crazy.
Do you do any ice fishing?
No, I've done that in Alaska. I found it very boring. I could just sit at home and drink, and sit out back drink. I mean, um, I did it one time, and I like doing it up there. And the fact that actually, the ice is thick enough in Alaska, I just drove out of my truck, and
Sure.
we took augers, we drilled down next to the two, next outside both doors, and put the little pole in there, and then got back in the trunk and just let it run, the heat run, and listen to music and drank and watched to see if it dropped. And to me, it was. I know a lot of guys get into it, the little shacks and that stuff and everything like that, but no, it's just to me, it's just kind of boring. It's just there's no fighting the fish. To me,
Yeah.
that's the fun, right? It's fighting the fish, it's wrestling them and having them come out of the water and working
Right.
the drag and all that stuff. There's none of that in ice fishing. So yeah, I
Yeah, I've
just
noticed that. I've always watched videos of them fishing, and I'm like, where's the fun in no fight?
I
That's
mean,
why I like
it's like a really
coastal
short
fishing.
cane pole. You're
Yeah.
living in Arkansas now, right? When I lived in
Yeah.
Arkansas, a lot of cane pole fishing,
Yeah.
right? It's just a short cane pole, about a 2 foot long, if that,
Right.
and you just dip it down and then pick it up, and but
Well, being from the Texas coast, I like that coastal type fishing, right? The
right,
big bull reds and the trout and
right,
stuff like that. I mean, that's fishing to me, where you're going to fight something, and it's going to with sharks as well, right? So I do shark fishing,
right.
so that is fun. Where you're going to have to
Yeah,
actually,
yeah, that's like living in Alaska in the summertime. Fishing was the mission, right? So,
yeah,
it was about fighting halibut, pulling halibut up from way deep, barn doors up, to fighting
mhm,
all five types of salmon, and we'd fishing with fly rods just for more fun and sport. I mean, that's what it's about. I'd rather be fighting a salmon dancing across top of the water than just looking at a line going into a hole I got to keep the ice out of.
right.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't get into that. I either I don't I do my hunting, and then once hunting's over, then I just wait for the next hunting season. That's about my
Yeah,
sport. So
and you did pretty
um
good as you usually do hunting this year, right?
yeah, it wasn't a better year. It wasn't my best. Actually, I've lost count. I think I ended up with six, five or six. I don't even remember. I usually get a couple more than that, but it still was good. I was blessed. I got one for fed our family, and blessed a couple other families, and helped them out and donated some to the food bank. So, but it's about the sport. It's about the fun out there, and being with your buds, and just being in the woods and that kind of stuff. So. I'm lucky and blessed that God gives me a few deer every year, and make the best of it. But that's pretty much my biggest hobby. So
I've
that and
I've got
doing
a
the show and
detached I've got a
having to wear
detached
special.
garage, and so there's some space in between the house and the garage. And I was out earlier today, and I'd seen it on camera. I've got a couple of armadillos tearing up my yard, and so I'm gonna have to do a little armadillo hunting.
How are those uneaten? How do you cook those?
I don't plan on eating armadillo. Maybe some
I was
squirrel.
wondering.
So,
Yeah, I'll do some
but
squirrel and
not the armadillo. I mean, armadillos historically, and I don't know if it's true. Historically, I know in Texas they always say they carry leprosy, right? Um,
yeah. I just don't
but
know how you would do you serve it in the shell? Like I wasn't sure.
on the
There's
half
some
shell, like
rumors.
a
Yeah, the half shell. Yeah, armadillo half shell. It's called that
yeah,
Texas oyster. I don't
yeah,
know, but yeah.
like a
So
flounder.
yeah, I just saw them as speed bumps in Texas. That's what I always saw them as. But
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Well,
hey man,
I hope it's armadillo and not pigs. So, because
yeah,
it's a pretty rough patch there. So
yeah.
I haven't seen any pigs, especially with a big dog. But
He probably
so,
helps keep some things away. Yeah,
yeah,
but no, it's a lot of stuff going on in the news. We were talking right before we went on the air. Again, I've been gone since I think mid-December,
right.
and I tried to do a couple shows. I really was, but it was just not working out with everything going on. I know you did some, and got to get our Lima Charlie coming back. I thought I had someone for Tuesday night, but that I had a couple of people, but this fell through. But we'll get that going. So a lot of topics. I mean, usually we just wait to the day of, and we got more than we need. But we've been about 5 or 6 weeks. We could there's more than we have time for tonight. But I'll let you kick it off because there's a lot of things we want to kind of get through and talk about with our
Well,
listeners here.
I don't even know where to start. I mean, there's so many topics that we could go on for hours and hours about. But one of the things that I know is not in a lot of people's mind right now, but uh, will be coming soon, and that's midterms, right? Um, we know that the American people have a very short attention span, and we know Republicans don't typically do very well in midterms. But one of the things that I'm very concerned about is people retiring and a lot of the conservatives or a lot of the Republicans leaving for other races, right? So there's several Republicans that are leaving Congress and running for governor. I think 10 different Republicans are running for governor across the yeah,
There's a few
across the country.
Democrats too, right? Isn't Klobuchar going to run for
There are
governor?
a couple of Democrats, but not nearly as much. And with with the way Republicans don't do very well in the midterms, on top of majority of Democrats that are in Washington are in stronghold Democrat places, right? There's I think Republican spots are generally more, the ones that flip back and forth more so than the pure Democrat spots. And so when you've got 10 Republicans running for governor and only one Democrat, right, out of the House, you've got 13 Democrats and 10 Republicans retiring completely. You've got 7 Democrats and 8 Republicans moving from the House, trying to run to the Senate.
Right.
The Republicans have a very slim majority as it is right now, and have had to fight for every little thing that they've gotten. And I think if they lose the House and the Senate, what we're going to see is we're going to see a lame duck president, right? We've talked about that before. That's
Right.
typically what happens. We're going to spend 2 years of impeachment hell, right?
Yep.
And if they get the House and the Senate, there's always a possibility that not only could they impeach Trump, but they could actually get the 2/3 required to remove him from office. Because we saw under his first presidency how many Republicans, how many what we would normally call rhinos, jumped on that immediately. Yes, we're going to impeach him, all for what we've now realized was bullshit, right? For lack of a better term, for the Russian
Yeah.
hoax, and the conversation with Zelensky, and all of this that we all know is bullshit, but we've seen and we've talked about repeatedly just how spineless some Republicans are and how quickly they will run to the other side and vote for impeachment and vote to have him removed. And I
Right.
think
But
that's something that's
I
very
think most of
dangerous.
those flushed out. I mean, there's still even right now there's candidates that are running for midterms that Trump endorses one candidate and the other one just throws their hands up and just bows out. I mean,
Sure,
he's still a powerhouse. Um, and even if both houses are lost over there, which happens a lot in the midterms, usually the midterms, it goes to the power goes to the party not in control. And it very well could happen, which is why we've been saying he's got 2 years to get as much done as he has. And I think we could
yeah,
all agree he's got a crap load done in the first year, right?
sure,
He had the crap load done in the first 6 months, 9 months, and all that. So I think he even recognized that he did not have 4 years to figure this out, which is why he hit the ground so hard and fast. And I think that we've seen some elections recently, just some special elections like that we just had one here in New York that the state senator won the Buffalo mayor election, so they just held a special election to replace him. Very minimal turnout. It's usually heavy done. Republicans don't really turn out for midterms or special
yeah,
elections a lot. For special elections, they're sure. They're usually at work and they're busy. But it is, and we saw this one in Texas that's flipped and that kind of stuff. And I know they've talked about the point spread and it was won by Trump by this and that. But at the same time, like with many things, I just kind of go, if the news is talking about it and pumping this up, I'm kind of thinking, what's the truth behind it? Like,
sure,
it's kind of like because right now what they all jumped on the bandwagon of that's it, that's the look, these a couple red things have flipped to blue, that's the American people are talking, that's the way it's going to happen.
right.
And somehow the media still thinks if they just say it enough that the American people are going to go right along with it. They've kind of forgotten a couple last few elections.
Well, there is still a large portion that either just gets their information from mainstream media, right?
Right.
And they may not even be left or right. They may be sitting in the center, but they're, when you constantly feed, and constantly push bullshit, right? You, you're you're going to sway the votes, right?
Yeah, if those
I
people
was
don't take
talking,
time to research themselves, if they're too lazy or too busy, yeah,
yeah.
they're just going to believe it. They hear it enough, they go, "Oh, I thought that was true." Yeah,
Somebody like you, or somebody like me, who's constantly in this realm. We dig in deeper and look at things. I was talking to a friend earlier today, and he was talking about Nancy Mace and some of the things he's heard. And I said, think about this real quick. I said, one of the things I always ask is, why now, right? And Trump is the perfect example of that. Why now? Why all of a sudden is Trump a racist when for 30 years in the public eye everybody buddied up with him? When he was at Hillary's daughter's wedding, when he was ringside with Don King, when he was
right.
hiring, black businesses, now all of a sudden he's racist. Why? Because it's political. It has nothing to do with the facts. It has nothing to do with truth. It has everything to do with politics. So one of the first questions I always ask is, why now? Why is this coming up now for somebody who's been in politics for 10, 20, 30 years? Why now? So
Yeah,
it's something that I wish more Americans would pay attention to. Unfortunately, they don't. I just, for those that get worn down and get tired of, controversy after controversy after controversy. Well, guess what? If you give Democrats the House and the Senate, you're going to have 2 years of bullshit
yeah,
controversy. That's all you're going
yeah,
to have. And nothing is going to get done. Nothing for the country. You know, Absolutely zero will pass through either chamber.
yeah. It will. It will be. It will be. Short of Fetterman, who sometimes steps across the aisle. There isn't many
Yeah.
on the left that step across, and there's a couple on the right that will move over and stuff. But which I think is good. They both should when it's in the best interest of the country, not what's in the best interest of the party. That's what it used to be, even in my lifetime, right? They would always cross. And now to say something is bipartisan is like such an epiphany. It's like, oh my God, it's bipartisan. So not just a couple of rhinos voting with the Dems or whatever, but I mean truly bipartisan, sponsored bipartisan, and
Sure.
voted bipartisan. They make such a big deal about it because it is unfortunately and sadly rare
Yeah,
to have
I
that
I
because
know
they just go
I didn't have Fetterman making sense on my bingo card this year. So
no, not at all. I mean, and I'll be the first to admit I said a lot of bad things about him and about the voters of Pennsylvania for doing that.
yeah,
Um, and because I was like, I thought the voters in New York were bad for actually voting for Hochul. And then, it was like Pennsylvania said, here, hold my beer. But he has, and I'll be the first to admit it, has turned around to be one of the only common sense people in the Democrat
yeah,
Party.
yeah,
And it's and if there's some more people like that, that's fine. But so many people are more interested in clickbait and being viral and saying and spewing whatever they want than they are
sure,
really being up there being a representative of the American people and their constituents, but the American people in general, because they're affecting policy for the entire nation, not just for the 7th district of Virginia or the
right,
14th district of Texas or whatever they represent, right?
yeah. Well, I mean,
But
the
yeah,
media went from being, not right but right now to anything that's against Trump. I mean, he could
right.
cure cancer, and we've said it before. He could cure cancer, and they would complain that he's putting doctors out of business, right?
Well,
It doesn't matter.
an hour
So
ago, not maybe an hour ago, Trump was just on. He just had a special press briefing. President Trump did with Dr. Oz. They rolled out TrumpRx.gov. And you can go there right now. It's up and running, and it's a website. He's talked about it before. He's negotiated with almost all but one of the major pharmaceuticals to lower the drug prices. Something he campaigned on, and talked about and gave us pretty much favored nation pricing. So there are drugs that people in America subsidize and pay a lot for, while people in other countries, where they could be as modern as UK, Germany, and Canada, or very some country in Africa, it didn't matter, that they were paying for this, buying the same medication and paying a fraction of the cost. So President Trump has negotiated with them that all the most common drugs are we get this favored nation pricing, which means if another country pays a lower price, we pay the same price. That just came out, and within minutes of that coming out, there were talking heads running to MS Now, the old MSNBC, CNN, talking about how Trump is, how it's a bad thing and he's fooling people. And this, there's no registering on the site. You don't have to give up any of your
Yeah.
info. You just go search for the medication, and if it's there, because it's not every single, but all the Ozempics and all that stuff, all those weight loss drugs that used to be diabetes drugs, are now down to $199 from whatever they were to $199. Inhalers are down. Insulin is down to $25. All this crazy stuff. You just go find your drug and you print out the coupon and you take that to the pharmacy. That's it. You don't have to tell them your info. You don't have to say who you are. This is all up there at trumprx.gov. But within 20 minutes of that being announced, people were already running to those outlets, just ripping it apart like it's a bad thing. Like
Sure.
there's, it's not like you're having to, they're trying to scam your email to send you, spam or anything like
Right.
that. You just go get the medication. This was something he campaigned on. He delivered
Right.
it tonight, right before the show started. They
Well,
still are going to find fault with it.
one of the things that the Democrats have refused to admit is that Obamacare was a failure. Right? Obamacare drove up prices. It drove up prices across the board, and then they put in subsidies, and then when COVID hit, they added more subsidies, voted for by Democrats with an expiration. Then when those expired, they try to blame Republicans. I don't care if it's healthcare. We saw it in education. We saw it with college tuition, or I don't care what you put it to. Anything that has guaranteed government money will never be cost effective because
Right.
institutions, organizations, and companies have zero interest in lowering the cost if Uncle Sugar is always going to write the check, period. And to continue to throw money at Obamacare through these subsidies is shooting ourselves in the foot and refusing to admit that it's a failure, and they're simply propping up their failure with US tax dollars.
Yeah. Yeah. It is, and honestly, it's always done usually to buy votes. It's all about
Yes.
buying votes,
Yes.
right?
It is
Um,
100% about buying votes.
which is why a number of national polls have talked about voter ID and having to be a U.S. citizen to vote, and it is overwhelmingly approved in the 70 percentile across Republicans, Democrats, Independents. All of them think that's a good idea. Yet every time it comes up, Chucky Schumer runs up there and calls it Jim Crow 2.0 faster than he
Yes.
can push the
Yeah.
glasses to the end of his nose. And it's like they're not the American people, Democrats, Democratic voters are sitting there going, no, you should only be a citizen that votes, and that's not a bad thing. Yet they go up there and go, oh, this is because you know poor people can't get, and they usually say black people can't get IDs, and they don't
Yeah.
have this and that, whatever. If they're poor and they're on any kind of a welfare or assistance program, they have to have an ID. If they drive, they have to have an ID. If you do anything, if they go to the liquor store or buy cigarettes, they have to have an ID. So have the politicians of all colors and races, but all one party, come out and claim it's Jim Crow 2.0 and it's racist to require an ID is absolutely the most racist thing you can say, to assume that
Yeah.
because of someone's gender, race, or any other demographic, that they don't know or can't get what an ID is.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And
the only
a
people
good
that don't have
portion of the
IDs are illegal people. That's
yeah.
who doesn't have IDs.
Well, and
It's
most of those do now
and
in
most of them
blue
do,
states. Yeah.
which is why we have to have a real ID to fly, because
Yeah.
the federal government, the FAA said no. There's too many
Yeah.
states giving out driver's license to anybody or even CDLs. So you have to have an ID that shows you're an American, that he has put an American flag on it.
And most states give those to you for free. You don't have to pay for it if you're
For the
just
real
getting an
ID,
ID. Well, yeah, if you're just getting an ID, not a driver's
not a
license, but
driver's
just an
license, yeah,
ID, the states will give that to you for free. You don't have to pay anything.
right.
So
But
if
if
you
you want a
simply
real
need it,
ID, you gotta pay a little before, but it's worth it. I mean, it's the real ID costs a little bit more, I think, but now I think TSA is charging what, $45 if you don't have a real ID.
so
There's
that
TS,
tells you it's not needed, right? I mean, there's a
yeah,
cost
yeah. So I think it's
to not have it.
45. I would normally ask my producer, but that's you. What it is, but I think it's $45 now. You pay at the airport if you don't have a real ID. They are now charging you. I don't know if they got a Venmo or they got Cash App or how they do that, but the TSA lines are long enough. The last thing you need is someone fumbling around with their credit card and trying to figure out why their PIN doesn't work.
Yeah,
So they can
$45 is what it is
40,
per traveler,
yeah,
per adult traveler. But that
right.
tells you that it's not about safety or security.
No, because
If you
that
can
wouldn't
pay
even
to
be
get around
allowed
it,
because a terrorist doesn't give a crap. Like they'll pay the
right?
$45.
Well, and I
They're
mean,
not going to be around to pay the bill.
if you're flying in and out of Minneapolis, you've got a suitcase full of money. You don't care. You just open up the case and pull out the $45. Do you have
Right.
change for $1,000 bill? And
Exactly. The
yeah,
we jump a lot of topics there.
well,
No, but let's just keep on
yeah.
going.
Well, you were talking about, we were talking about medical, and one of the things I watched earlier was a video with Musk, and he was talking about 3 to 4 years. Um, Robots will outnumber actual surgeons performing surgery. That's his prediction. He's got a vested interest in that, of course,
Is that how
because of
Skynet starts? We go in for surgery and they just kill you on on the operating table.
yeah. I mean, yeah, probably. What's that? Captain America, Winter Soldier, where they like identify the threats based on your DNA and the algorithm, and so they just kill you right on the table.
I'm just thinking
But
about
he's
Arnold Schwarzenegger. I look up and that's my
yeah,
doctor. I'll be back. Like, where are you going? Like,
but he flat out said that today it's pointless to go to medical school for anybody. That 3 to 4 years, those surgeons will be outnumbered by robots, basically. That they're more precise, and and will be cheaper in the long run, right? And he even said that healthcare, that will lead to cheaper healthcare costs because you don't have to pay for a doctor and you don't have to pay for that doctor's education, because now you got a robot that looks it up in a database where to cut you stem to stern and what part to pull out and hope
I
that he gets it
mean,
right.
I'm sure it'll work for some, but I just saw the other day one of the driverless cars just like hit a kid
Yeah.
and ran over a kid. I mean, and they have issues where they get blocked in by some. So I mean, I would hate to be the robot just gets confused and it just it goes to cut at your appendix and it cuts something else off. You
Well,
know,
one of the things that a lot of people don't know, and I know this because it affected our family a couple of years ago, that medical mistakes, there are 400,000 medical mistakes a year in this country. Now, I don't know what percentage of those lead to death. I do know that the
right?
one in my
Well, that's
family
why
did lead to the death.
malpractice insurance is so high. That's why
Yeah.
doctors pay a lot for that. Yeah.
But 400,000 medical mistakes each year. That's
Wow.
insane.
Yeah.
So, there'll be a percentage of those people will look to the robots and go, sure,
What
let
happens
them
if the
do it.
robot makes a mistake? Who do you sue? The robot maker? I
Elon
mean,
Musk, I guess.
the programmer?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know, but yeah, that is crazy to think that there's. I'm sure I guess. Well, I would argue that there's not a reason not to go to medical school because you're not going to have a robot for your normal checkup. You're not going to have a robot for minor things when you go in for a physical and do that kind of stuff. I mean, if we do, then we're well beyond a lot of other issues, but you're still going to need the bedside man. You may have a robot do your surgery, but in all reality, the surgeon doing a surgery on you is the person you probably see and talk to the least, right?
Yeah.
They come
But
to you right before you go in.
even your regular doctor, right? So more places are offering telehealth, right?
Right.
That
But those are
exploded under COVID, right? So now
but
you
those
can
are
do
still
telehealth.
doctors and medical professionals. They're just doing it remotely.
Well, sure, but I mean, you could easily substitute that with a robot because okay, what's wrong with you? I have a headache, and then it's going to a database and it's looking at
Well, it could
500
be
different
AI.
options.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it could simply be AI in the background, and then you eventually would get to a doctor, right? If it gets to a if this then that type
I
deal,
went to I
right?
went to a drive-through when I was in January when I was down in Florida. I don't remember. It was like like a Checkers or something, some burger place. I don't remember. We were doing some stuff and went through a drive-through, and literally when the voice came on, like what would you like to order today or whatever they say, right?
Hmm.
You could me and my family looked at each other like that's not even a real part. Like you could tell, and it was fully. And they waited like, oh, I'll take a number two with the large fry. Like, oh, you would like a number two cheeseburger
Sure.
with large fry. If you could customize it, right? Extra pickle, whatever. It repeated it all back to you, but it was the same. Not a computer, but I mean, it was a person. It sounded like a person, but
Right.
you could tell it was just too perfect, right? Too. The voice was crystal clear, unlike most drive-throughs,
Right.
and we're like, it was a straight up AI engine. So then we pull up to the window, I saw the young lady there. Obviously not the person. Like, just I'll just keep it. Obviously not the person talking to us. And I was like,
Right.
they're taking your job. And she's like, yeah, well, they got it, this and that, whatever. I'm like, why don't they let you talk? And she was, I don't know. It's just the way they do it. But I'm like, because we pulled up, like, yep, that was an AI. There was no way that
Yeah.
was a real person. So,
Well, I don't need a lot of fast food, but I mean, more and more places that you do go in, you don't even have to talk to somebody behind the counter. They've got a computer screen right there, and you punch in what you want, and then you just
oh
have a
yeah, just
person delivering it
yeah.
to the yeah. So I mean,
If
they're
I go to McDonald's, I do it all off the app now because a lot of the
yeah.
McDonald's in this area, um, they have a handful of people working and they're doing table side. They bring the stuff to you. They have a big kiosk, like a huge
Hmm.
6 foot screen kiosk
Yeah.
order. Now I worked at McDonald's when I was in high school. If I wanted to still work there, I would have stayed. And it just perturbed me. I walked out one time, got in a car, and went through the drive-through because I'm like, I don't want to sit there and hit all that stuff. Like, that's what I'm paying you for. And I even asked the girl, I'm like, why? She was like, I'm like, what do you do? I ask them all. I'm like, what do you choose? I bring your food out to you when it's ready. And it,
I
like,
deal with a goddamn customer.
yeah. So I was like, hey, I'll just do it on my app. It's easier. I'm like,
Yeah.
why would I sit in here and like that? Oh, back. Oh, I want to add another thing. It's like, I
Yeah.
worked at McDonald's in the 80s. I don't want to still work at McDonald's. But it's that way when you go to a regular restaurant, you go to sit down restaurant, right?
Yeah.
They don't take your bill. They just turn the little game
Yeah.
thing around to you and you pay your bill right there.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's it's happening. So I could see it as a regular doctor, whether it's telehealth or whatever. Oh, I'll give you another example. There was an eye place that last year before, that was offering this great deal, and I just want to get a couple extra pair of literally glasses just for hunting. I didn't want to get I go to my regular optometrist, get a real expensive pair, whatever. I knew what my prescription was already. I just want to get a couple pair for hunting, going to the gym or whatever, right? And they were offering a great deal. So I went in there and you get your eye exam. And my regular optometrist, it's a young lady there, and she goes through and puts the things up and, flips it, which one's
Sure.
clearer and all that stuff. And they have a person there do that, do like some initial stuff. And then it goes up on a screen and it's another optometrist somewhere, and they're on a TV screen, and I'm looking at, they're looking at me, and they are flipping all the things. They're doing it all remotely. And
Wow.
I was like, because I was wondering, I'm like, sometimes you get regular optometrists, it's hard to get, like, you got to book weeks out because they're just booked up.
Right.
And this big chain had like, I could go on tomorrow morning and there's spots all through the day. And I thought, how many optometrists do they got in there? Like, they're wide open. It's because they have people somewhere else that are sitting in a call center, maybe not even in this country, that are just, they can remotely control all the stuff and are just talking to you. And then when you're
Yeah.
done, they beep the people out there, and then the local person walks in.
Yeah.
I was pretty blown away. So I could see what you're saying could be happening.
The problem, and I've got a buddy that I work with that is big into AI. The problem is, what do you do with all of these people who are displaced with work, right? What do you do? I mean, there'll be certain jobs that you can't replace, right? At least not initially. But what do you do with all of these people who no longer have jobs? Right. We're going to get to a point where universal income is just going to be a thing. We're going to pay these people to sit at home. We're going to pay them to not do anything, and that's going to have its own problems.
Well, ICE is hiring. So we got that.
They are.
Because
They
learning how to
are.
code doesn't do it anymore, because AI does all the coding too. So,
Yeah.
ICE is hiring from what I hear. But yeah, or people just will sit around and wait for the government handouts, right? So,
Yeah.
um, speaking of
Which they
ICE,
won't have anything to hand out if we continue with like Minneapolis and
right,
what's going on there.
right.
There won't be any money.
Yeah. Well, interesting thing about Minneapolis, talking about ICE. Well, something brought this up a while back. That Nice one, Doug. I just saw your comment. Musk can lead the way with the robot giving him a vasectomy. He definitely needs one.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think that guy has created enough on his planet. That he doesn't need to make any more babies. But nice one. Is that everyone thinks that ICE is only in Minneapolis, and they're only there collecting them. They have gotten thousands of illegals off the streets and out of our country, across cities all over, from LA to Dallas to Baltimore to Miami, New York, you name it. But you only hear about all the stuff. There's some in LA,
Sure.
some in Portland, but pretty much it's all about Minneapolis,
A
which is
little bit in Chicago.
ironically
Right.
some in Chicago, but Minneapolis is almost looking like ground zero, and it's funny that all that kind of blew up and happened right after all the Somali fraud stuff came out,
Right.
right? And
Right.
which you talked I think a little bit about when you were on a couple weeks ago, but when that came out, it was like, oh, don't look over here, look over there, right? And
Sure.
now you got Walt's not running, you got all that stuff, you got all this fraud stuff happening, but that's blowing. That's where it is, and obviously, two people have been shot up there because they effed around and they found out, and they should have kept their nose in their own business and were out there trying to do something else. But even other places, people have been shot interfering, but you're not seeing the riots and all that stuff like you are in Minneapolis.
No.
It's not just, and they're not picking up just Somalis, even though there's a huge Somali presence in Minneapolis. They're picking up illegals and predators and rapists and murderers all over the place. But only there do
Sure.
we see all these problems.
Well, what blows me away, and I've heard two different mayors say this: the mayor of Chicago and the mayor of Minneapolis. So we're talking about people who are already here illegally and then get picked up for whatever else, right? I don't care if you don't go to jail for jaywalking, you don't go to jail for speeding, you don't go unless you're going over a certain amount. You go to jail for serious offenses, right?
Right.
The mayor of Minneapolis and the mayor of Chicago have refused to turn over people already in their custody to ICE. So let's think about that real quick. You're here illegally and you've already broken another law to the point that it requires you to be put in jail. And the mayors of those blue cities still refuse to export those people. I can almost understand if you don't want them going door to door to door to door, right? Or that level. But if
Right.
you have people in custody who are here illegally and broke another law to the level that it requires you to be put in jail, you don't belong in this country because
Right.
you obviously you had an opportunity and you've wasted that opportunity.
Yeah, and again, they don't even have to be the most terrible, violent crimes, right?
No,
They've committed crime now, and granted, there's going to be mistakes made. There's going to be people like there's going to be mistaken identity, all that kind of stuff. Sure, right? Mistakes happen all the time. Mistakes happen when I've gotten emails from doctors' offices, and I think I'm like, hey, you sent me someone's medical stuff, right? I've had that happen. We're like, oh, this isn't me. You sent it to the wrong person, right? Or I've gotten a text message. That just happens. Let's not run them through the ringer over that. Um, but and people have their day in court and all that kind of stuff. And I know some of this personally. I just say I know some people personally that have gotten picked up by ICE, and they got out a week or so later once everything got cleared up. But it's to sit there and just spew these professional agitators, these people getting paid and being brought in by buses and all that stuff. They don't even live there. Just like all the anti-Semitic riots and stuff that happened at the colleges and all stuff. To be doing all that and getting it away. I mean, if you've never learned anything, if you've never watched Cops or Live PD, it's like, don't get in an argument and try to fight and push back against a cop. You're gonna lose.
sure.
Even if at the end of the day you get released and you're still going to lose, and they're not going to give you a break. So when you start kicking out taillights and screaming in their face and blowing whistles, they're trying to quickly and effectively make an arrest and get potentially a very bad person off the streets.
Sure.
And all you're doing is just throwing gas around the bonfire and just maybe hoping it doesn't quite hit it. But that's what
Right.
they're doing. It's like a big bonfire, and you're walking around throwing cups of gas just in the sand outside of it, just seeing how close you can get to make you get the blow up. And when it blows up and burns you, you get pissed off at the fire.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
the
I
really
get a
what's happening.
graphic I want to show you, and I have to verify this information, but I doubt very seriously it's very inaccurate. So this gets right down to what I've talked about numerous times, and it's the hypocrisy, right? Obama deported more people. Obama, according to this graphic, made more mistakes. Obama, the only one less on this for Obama was deaths in ICE custody, but he deported 4 people that shouldn't have been deported. You know,
Right.
Obama did everything that Trump is doing, and no riots, no serious cases of anything. But then now all of a sudden that Trump is doing it, all of a sudden the organization that was voted on bipartisan ICE, and created bipartisan ICE, is now all of a sudden Nazis and fascists and destroying the country.
Right, right. Well, and most of those people that are out there protesting and doing all that, saying that, were not even around, and definitely not a voter when all that happened.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is, it is purely spooled up by politics. I mean, look, Obama, bombed American citizens overseas. Biden bombed and murdered a family of 7 just out in Kabul. But no one
Yeah.
batted an eye at that, right?
Right.
It's and so all this fake outrage, it's just like, again, look at all the young women and men and stuff, but mostly young women that have been murdered, raped, and attacked in this country by illegals, and no one, Riley Gaines and the young girl in Texas and all that stuff, no one sheds an eye over that. Yet they freak out when somebody's trying to fight, resist arrest, or even attempt to run over an officer, get shot. It's real simple. Just listen and follow orders. Like I say, all you have to do is watch live PD or cops and realize if you just follow their orders and have a conversation, most of the time it's going to end up all right, unless you've actually committed a crime. But the second you try to run, fight, resist, you're on the losing end every time.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
every death is tragic, right? I mean,
Right.
and anytime an American citizen dies, it's tragic. But again, the hypocrisy is, now all of a sudden these celebrities speaking out about good and pretty. Not one of them said a thing about Laken Riley, who was murdered when
Right.
jogging. Not one of them said anything about Rachel Moran, who was a mother of 5 and was murdered. Jocelyn Nungray, murdered. The 12-year-old, she was 12. Kate Steinle, she was shot and killed while walking with her father on a pier in California.
San
Molly
Francisco, yeah.
Tibbetts, 2018, 20-year-old college student. Another 8-year-old girl died head-on crash in San Diego, California. Amber Paris, 15, died by
A
another
number
illegal.
of people have been killed in car crashes by illegals who are driving drunk.
Yeah.
No
Not
life
one of
saving
these
thing.
celebrities have ever put a pin on their jacket, have said a word about these individuals. These are young women. That's just young women that have been killed. Like I said, 20-year-old, 8-year-old, 15-year-old, 12-year-old. Not a single one of those celebrities have said a damn word about any of these individuals or opened up their goddamn mouths about it when they were killed. Not a single
Right.
one of them. So when they open their mouths now, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Well, they open it up for their own. That's why, I used to enjoy to watch the award shows a long time ago when you actually see your favorite performer, actor, whatever, especially music ones, because you see them do these performance and collaborations. But no appetite for it at all. Really don't give a crap, because you know what it's going to be. Like, no one cares what it's like. Bill Maher said it great, right? And so did Ricky Gervais. Like, no, keep it to yourself. No one cares what you're saying, right? Just like we've talked about before. When Trump got elected the first time and second time, when they were all, threatening to leave the U.S., which, by the way, Ellen DeGeneres just came back. But at least she left for a little while. But when they would all threaten to leave if he got elected, I was like, how narcissistic and full of yourself can you be that you think people in America are like, oh my God, Whoopi Goldberg's going to go to Canada? I got to change my, like, it's not like you were my neighbor. It's not like you were babysitting for me. Like, I don't know you, you don't know me. But they're so full of themselves, thinking by threatening to move if Trump gets elected, that somehow that's going to change votes. That's the same as, going up there and wearing a pin or yelling F ICE or ICE out at an award show. Hey, monkey, just dance and sing. That's what I'm paying you to do. Nothing else. I really don't care what your opinion
They shouldn't
is.
be allowed back in the country. If they left, they shouldn't be allowed back. They should be denied entry back into the country. You left.
I'm
You're
waiting
not
for
wanted
Billie
there anymore.
Eilish to give her house back, her $11 million mansion back to the Tonga tribe. I mean, you talk about someone that stuffed both feet in her mouth. I mean, you might want to, guess what? Everything goes viral. We all know that. That's how most of these people become famous. Billie Eilish, from what I understand, if I remember right, she was a YouTube singer. She got famous by making videos, putting them on YouTube. So you should everyone kind of watches online, even the Native American tribes. You should probably watch what you're saying because someone's going to call you out,
There's a law
even though
firm
you
in
think the whole
California has already drawn up the paperwork and put out
yeah
publicly, "Hey, Tonga tribe, if you want this, you now have standing because she's already admitted that it's stolen land. So we have the paperwork here. If you want to accept this, we'll issue the paperwork and have her kicked out."
yeah, it's a nice house. They do
3
great.
million. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just like these people forget they're so they live in so much of their own bubble and think the world everyone around them says yes. They are really drunk on their own Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
That they think everyone thinks like they do and is not going to fact check them because they're catered and baby to everywhere. No one ever does. Right. And anyone that does is a fascist and a racist and a this and that, whatever.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's just like with the changing of the Redskins name, right? Everyone thought they were being politically correct on this, except for the Native American tribe was like, hey, we and a lot of them, but the one that came from was like, we
Yeah.
like you're honoring,
Sure.
our people. It's like
Yeah.
Aunt Jemima Syrup. You're honoring a lady who had really history, who did a lot and all that stuff. Like that's an honor that you.
Right.
It's like but some companies think they have to be so woke that and not everything that involves a person, especially a minority, is a has a racist undertone to it. And these
Yeah.
companies and these actors and singers have again they're drunk on their own power and they can't even use common sense. That's what we're missing. Trump needs to bring back the hashtag common sense. If you're going to do it in hashtag, that's what it
Well,
is.
not everything needs to be a political platform. Not
Right,
everything. I mean, people watch movies and to be entertained. They
right.
watch award shows to like you said, see their favorite performers perform. That's it. They don't want they don't like you said, Ricky Gervais. Most of them spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So
Right.
we don't care about their opinions. Just get up there and sing and dance. That's it.
I may have told
Unfortunately,
you this before. I don't know, but I was with some coworkers one time. A lot of my coworkers are leaning left. I'll just say, even though many of them watch your show, and but they were surprised. I was talking about a couple of years ago. We went and saw Elton John. We drove to Boston to see Elton John. It was a big concert year, like 22, I think it was 22, and saw a lot of shows. And we just on a whim. So he's performing in Boston. Let's drive 6 hours, go make a couple of days of it. And one was like, I can't believe you went and saw like you like Elton John. And I'm like, why?
wow.
They're like, well, because your politics, you're conservative. I'm like, I like good music. Like he's Elton John, dude. Like when am I going to
Yeah,
get to see him? Because then it was like his final tour, but he keeps doing that. Now he's another final tour out. I mean, the dude's milking it like a J.C. Penney Saturday sale.
like the
Um,
Stones.
but I mean, it was like it's Elton John to get a chance to see him. I mean, I saw Billy Joel that same. It's just like, yeah, it's a chance to see these folks. When I saw Stevie Nicks a couple years ago, it's like, but they were like, well, just because Elton John, because he's gay and he's very liberal, and you're like,
Man.
that doesn't matter. If I only watched and listened to people that had the same politics or thoughts that I did, there would not be much entertainment going on in my house.
Yeah.
I love country music, but a lot of other music too, and not everyone in country is one way or another. I
Right.
listen to heavy metal, rap, everything. It's like I don't pick and choose my entertainment based on how I think that person votes, nor do I care. You
Right.
know, what I
Yeah.
care is if I go to their concert that they don't speak 10 minutes when they could be singing and they're spewing to me their political crap. Like I'm not going to a
Sure.
Bruce Springsteen concert if you pay me, if you give me the free ticket for the front row, because I know what he's going to do.
Right.
Right. I have no interest. I want to sing Monkey Boy. That's what I'm paying you to do. I want to see,
Yeah.
not hear what you think about Trump or anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
It's
we'll see what the halftime show brings. I mean, I have no interest in either of the teams playing. None of the teams. As a Cowboys fan, my hopes of a Super Bowl in preseason week one every year. So I'm not interested in either team that's playing. So may not watch the halftime show. I don't. May not even
You're not
watch
going
the
to watch
game.
the Turning Point show. I'm going to watch Turning Point show.
I if I can catch it somewhere, I live way out in the country and I don't have TV, so I have streaming services. But if
It's
it's
on
on
a
one of
lot of
those,
streaming. It's on Turning
yeah,
Point site. That's a place to watch it. Even you can watch it on a few regular networks.
yeah,
But
yeah,
well,
I could
see,
probably
I'm a
watch it.
Bills fan. So when a Bills fan, we have a saying, right? We're a Bills fan or anyone playing the Patriots. So
Sure,
I'm rooting for Seahawks
go
because
Seahawks. Yeah,
yeah, that's it. It is because the Patriots are playing, so it's all for that. But I'm gonna, I watch pretty much for the commercials, and usually the halftime show. But I'm gonna tune over to the TP USA one, and so I like Brantley Gilbert and all those folks and Kid Rock. So, um, I mean, it's 20, 30 minutes, whatever. I'll watch
Well,
it.
the thing about the commercials is you can always get the commercials. They always do, YouTube videos or whatever.
Right.
You don't even have to
Beforehand.
watch the show to get them.
No,
Yeah, beforehand and a lot of, afterwards if you want to see them
right.
again. So
But
you don't even have to watch the game. So if you don't like the Seahawks and you don't like the Patriots, you can catch all the other entertainment somewhere else.
and see, the
So,
only reason I wouldn't, I'd watch Bad Bunny. I mean, I get his popper, just I'd see something different. But I already know what he's going to do.
sure.
One, and because he's already pretty much put that out there. But two, I used to be pretty fluent in Spanish. I'm not as much anymore. So I don't want to watch someone just sing everything for 20 minutes in Spanish. I mean, that's not entertainment for me. And I've liked a lot of the past several years of halftime shows, even though they haven't been popular. People would think, why would you listen
Sure.
to them or whatever? Because I mean, that's their chance to put on a heck of a performance. I mean, it's
Right.
always crazy
Yeah.
whether there's rappelling down from the rooftop or that, and you never know who's going to come out on stage. They always have these special guests, and it's always entertaining, to see some collaboration. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've no
I don't know.
desire.
Last year was like I was just kind of last year was just puzzling to me. I mean, I
Oh,
don't listen. I don't listen to Kendrick Lamar. I don't listen to Bad Bunny. Uh, I
Kendrick Lamar got some good songs, but I can understand them because they're in English. So
yeah. I
it's
I mostly have XM radio on 80s or 70s and the 90s, and that's about it. That's about
not
all
even
I.
the
Or,
highway. You're not on the highway.
I do listen to the highway,
Okay.
and probably classic vinyl. So that's usually what my radio's on.
Yeah,
So
I'm a highway Y2K country,
yeah,
Octane, Turbo, Ozzy,
Ozzy,
Classic
yeah,
Rewind. Yeah, yeah,
sure,
that's it.
sure.
That's
Hair
those are.
metal,
Sometimes,
Hair
yeah,
Nation,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But I like Classic Rewind and Ozzy's channel, and
yeah,
that gives you the stuff. But I throw in some country. I listen to some rap. I listen to everything. I listen to a little bit of the message. Listen to good Christian music on there. I listen to some of the message is good on XM, but I don't know. I don't think I could have a car anymore without XM. I would not know what to do to
right,
tune to a radio. That would be.
yeah,
I've been on XM for so long,
yeah. Me
but
too. I couldn't do it without it. So
yeah. So obviously another hot thing right now. I want to make sure we get to for this ends is this Savannah Guthrie's mom, Nancy Guthrie's kidnapping. It's amazing. That there's people go missing all the time, but boy, this one has really captivated the country.
sure, yeah,
Not that ever Savannah Guthrie, probably a lot of people didn't know who she was. If you didn't watch the Today Show, you really didn't know who she was.
right.
But it's the media has jumped on it, and it's they
Trump
haven't
has
talked
jumped
about
on
it.
it. I mean, he's
Trump has
thrown
jumped on it.
full force behind it.
Yeah, Cash Patel I think went out there today and stuff. But I imagine a lot of people. I gotta imagine a lot of people that have family that have been kidnapped or missing or whatever have got to be like, what the hell? Like,
Yeah,
why didn't again, she's not it's not a Savannah Guthrie was not a national known name person. It wasn't like Elon Musk's mother got kidnapped
sure,
or something like that. I mean, or Tom Brady's, right? It was
right,
like, oh, a lady that does a morning show on NBC. If you're a
right.
CBS or ABC person, you probably never knew who she was.
Yeah.
um
She's
but boy,
84, and
yeah,
I think you had mentioned before the show that I guess she's on some medication, right?
she's on a number
And
of meds. Yeah, she's got some mobility, and you know, obviously it looks, it was they. I saw pictures of the blood outside the front door. They saw a picture where the camera had been the ring camera had been ripped off, and they talked about today how she didn't have the ring camera. You can have it where you pay for the cloud service to store and archive all the video footage, or
yeah,
you have to see it right when it happens. Like, she didn't even pay for it. Like, I imagine her kids got to be kicking themselves for not paying for $50 a year to
sure,
have the
yeah,
footage uploaded to the cloud. But yeah, it's a very weird case because there's short of some fake people trying to get money. They arrested someone in California today for that, trying to claim they were pay a ransom. They've heard from nobody, and it's like it was a nondescript house. It wasn't like it was a big mansion like someone rich has got it. It had to be very targeted,
yeah,
um, because it was conducted very professional. It was not
yeah,
like we see all those ring cameras. Someone comes up and kicks in the door and all that kind of stuff. I mean, a lot of those young punks that check car doors or try to do stuff or that kind of stuff. They don't even care if the cameras are on them. I
right,
mean, this thing was, and as you know, those ring cameras have a wide field of view, and there's nothing picked up.
yeah,
So And,
Yeah.
they knew to take her Apple Watch off and leave it and all that kind. I mean, it was
Yeah.
done by someone who knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I refuse to pay for any service like that to store my stuff in the cloud. All my camera systems are stored locally and then backed up to an offsite location. So that way I have redundancy built into it. But
Well, I have
I'm not
cameras
a
around my house that are the same thing, but the Ring, you don't have a choice of the Ring.
no,
So
no, you do not.
it's
Yeah.
it's got to go, which is fine, because that also gives me redundancy between the two.
Sure.
Um, so, but yeah, it was it is interesting to watch this case over the last couple of days to see, because I say people go missing all the time, every
Yeah.
day,
Oh yeah.
right?
Oh
You,
yeah.
you talked about kids
Especially, I
get
mean, she's 84. I mean, people, get to that age and they kind of wander off a
you get
lot.
those silver alerts, right, and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, and but obviously he's got the whole world kind of enthralled. But it is interesting to see what's going to be behind this. And everyone's obviously hoping and praying that they find her and she's fine. But I guess these meds that she's on and things are going on. I mean, I guess the clock is ticking and it's not looking good if she goes too long. So,
Right. Yeah.
but if
Well,
there's no
let's hope
demands,
they.
it's like, what was the purpose of kidnapping her if they're not making a
Sure.
demand? You know?
Yeah. Well, let's hope they find her. Let's hope
Yeah.
they find her.
Some
So.
other big news came out. Reference to the Medal of Honor. I don't know if you
Oh,
saw
I
that.
saw something on that. I didn't get
Yeah,
a chance to
so
read the article.
two different ones. A very interesting, right? A young man, Staff Sergeant Ollis, post posthumous, for actions in Afghanistan, where he Ghazni, which was my old stomping ground, in 2013. He Ghazni had got. I remember when this attack happened, they got attacked in the big base and they got infiltrated, and the Polish were there, and he stepped in front of and took a suicide bomber and saved the life of a Polish officer. And he's from Staten Island, and he his parents just got called the other day, and they're gonna. I mean, apparently this lieutenant in the Polish army named his son after him, Michael. There's
Oh
buildings in
wow.
Poland that are named after him. Like, it
Holy
is a
cow.
big deal that this American NCO stepped in front of this Polish lieutenant and gave his life. Um, and that, so that just got announced, and the president will be presenting that to his family. And of all people, Chuck Schumer was one of the ones pushing for it and really kept it open, because there's a time limit, like 3 years,
Sure.
right? So it takes
Sure.
special actions to have it still be considered after that 3 year mark. And actually, Chuck Schumer, of all people, was instrumental behind making sure this got put through.
Well, I mean,
Um,
he is the senator from New York, so I
he
mean,
is, so he does something for New York. And then the other one is this Navy captain, E. Royce Williams, who is 100 years old and still alive,
wow.
and shot down 5 Soviet MiGs in a secret mission off of Korea in 1952 during the Korean War. And
Wow.
they were 5 Soviet jets with Soviets. And he shot down 5 of the MiGs, became an ace on that one battle, and it was always kept secret. And
Wow. Good for
and
him.
he's still alive and kicking, and he is going to be getting the Medal of Honor for that. And actually, Daryl Ice out of California helped push that one. But it's awesome that he's still alive when it's happening, and all that kind of stuff. But 70 years later, but he was up there
Right.
35 minutes dogfighting by himself. His
That's
wingman
incredible.
left with one plane, and shot down 4 other MiG-15s after he shot the first one.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
My dad was in the Korean War, so that's awesome. That's
yeah, just to
fantastic.
show. I mean, obviously, there's almost none left from the World War II. Is very down. Korean War is right behind it of the number of
Yeah.
people still left, and to have him still be. I mean, you see other stories where people go, wait, not like posthumous because they got killed in combat, but they just never saw it while they were alive. But to be able to give it to this gentleman, for doing something that was classified and stuff for so long and kept secret,
Sure.
and and everything is pretty awesome. But yeah, I think they're going. I think they're going to do them both on the same day. I'm not sure.
Awesome.
That's kind of something they Biden started doing a lot. And they did it a long time ago, but then they kind of got away from it. Obviously, we don't have lots of Medal of Honors, but I think they're going to do them
Right.
both on the same day. But yeah, so a young staff sergeant, who gave his life up for a Polish officer, and then 100-year-old Navy captain who down 5 megs.
That's awesome.
That's
That's
from
awesome.
one end of the spectrum to the other.
Right.
Uh, uh, the funny thing is that this Williams, Captain Williams, he said, of course, like all these guys that we know, like Dave and whatever, that hey, I was doing my job or whatever, but his thing was like, they were like, how'd you do it, all that kind of stuff. When he got interviewed, he goes, I was a fighter pilot doing my job, and I was only shooting at things that I had to shoot at.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I had targets, I shot at them, right? That was it. So
That's infantry simple there.
yeah, that's it. But so that's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. I want to make sure we mention that young man and this old man both will be their families got to be very proud and full of honor to
Does Dave have to go? I mean, doesn't have to, right? But does Dave attend those types of for new,
some
or
of
is there,
those they
there's
get.
something after that, right? Isn't there usually
Yeah,
a
they get invited. I don't know if the association if they rotate or how they do it. But I think they have like a standing invite. Any of them that want to attend, you'll always see them off to the left side, right? There'll be
right?
4 to 8 or 10 or however many. And like at Dave's, there were 4 or 5, maybe a few more. I have a picture with like 5 of them, but they think they're all invited. I think it goes to the Medal of Honor Association. They get an invite to come up there and attend it. I don't know if their travel's covered or what, but
Right.
um, he has made some others. But it is kind of like a show of respect, like welcome to the club kind of thing, and
Sure.
to recognize them and stuff, and there'll be old guys and young guys and everything in between.
Right. That's
Yeah, there
awesome.
was more than just the 5 because Swanson was at Dave's, and a couple others. Yeah, besides the 4 or 5 guys I took a picture with. But yeah, so that's
Awesome.
pretty awesome. What you got? Anything else? We're a little over an hour. Anything else?
Uh, Nothing really that important. I mean, we'd briefly talked about Alberta, Canada's pushing for their independence again, but that's not anything new for them. I mean, they've been pushing for that since the early 1900s. So, but they did recently have a meeting. They didn't say with President Trump, but they said with somebody who is directly in contact with Trump about if they were to win their independence, what kind of zero tariffs on either side for trades and things like that. So they're definitely pushing hard for it. I wish them well. They've
Do
been
they
pushing
want
for
to
it.
succeed from Canada, or you think they actually want to come over and be part of the U.S.?
I don't know that they want to be part of the U.S. I think it's kind of like that. You get that divorce and you just kind of want to be single for a while.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what they want. Maybe eventually they'd
I'm on
become
the
part of it.
rebound. I'm on the rebound.
Yeah,
It's a little too soon for me
yeah.
to commit. Yeah.
Yeah, let me just kind of sleep around a little bit and do some non-tariff type deals with the U.S. and things like that. Um, I think that's probably what they want. I think maybe more than anything, just like the history shows, it's more of a statement that they're very unhappy with the rest of what Canada's doing, right?
Right. Right.
And I mean we see that out of Texas a lot. We see that out of places up in the Washington State, where parts of them want to break away from Washington. Even some parts of California want to get away from California
Oh, there's
and
many
become,
parts, and New York's
yeah,
the same thing. They always try.
yeah,
There's always a state assemblyman that introduces a bill. They the same thing every year. They're trying to succeed or split apart downstate, pretty much New
yeah,
York City and Westchester and all that area away from the rest of the state.
yeah,
I've seen California being broken apart in 5 states.
right,
I've seen parts of Oregon uh, split away, like from like Southern Oregon away from Northern Oregon.
right.
Yeah,
Well, we'll take Alberta and we'll give them Minnesota and maybe some other places. I think that's an equal trade. So
yeah, we could make that happen.
yeah,
For sure. But no, it's interesting. You mentioned that, right? So you mentioned succession in the countries and stuff, but Greenland is still a hot one. Isn't it amazing
yeah,
what has happened there?
yeah,
Um, people just don't fair. I was talking to my son about this in January. We're talking, you know, President Trump says something, and we've talked about it on the show, and he says something, people freak out and they lose their mind, right? You can go all
right,
the way back to when he accused the Obama administration of spying on his buildings and his hotel where he lived, and everyone freaked out. And then it came true, right?
sure,
And he's talked about this, and people freak out, and it comes true. And then, he talked about the Gaza Strip, and he was like, I'm going to make it Mara Gaza and put hotels in it. And everyone freaked out. But every time he got what he wanted, which is the rest of the Middle East to step up, and it's because no
Sure.
one wanted Gaza, no one wanted to touch it, and he was like, "I'll come in and do it." And we were like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" Right? He never wanted the U.S. to own Gaza or take Gaza. They just have not. I can't. I don't know how they haven't figured that. Helen Keller could see this,
Right.
right? And they come in and they take over. Then he talked about Panama. We're going to take Panama, and everyone flipped out. All he got was Panama to kick China out and sign
Sure.
some stuff with us. That's all he wanted. He didn't really want Panama. Now Greenland, he just wants where China and Russia can't use it. Right? We've tried to buy Greenland a couple times. We've tried to take Greenland, going way back, like
Sure.
to Taft and different,
Yeah, it's
in
nothing
the
new.
1800s. No, we've always wanted Greenland. Seward tried to buy Greenland after he bought Alaska, and the American people after the Civil War were like, "Why you just spent $7.5 million on Alaska and it's just a frozen wasteland? No, you're not going to spend $5 million on Greenland. That's
Sure.
stupid. We don't even have the money to buy Alaska." But
Right.
Seward knew what it was going to be worth somehow. So this Greenland is not new. It's something we've always wanted, and now apparently he's negotiated the ability for us to have whatever we need there,
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. But he kind of called the bluff on the European Union. He's that kind of stuff. It's just amazing how whenever he says something like this, and it seems crazy and outlandish, and everyone freaks out. I have learned over the years to step back and go, all right, let's see how this is going to play out, because there's something else to go here, whether it's Venezuela,
Yeah.
Iran, right? No matter what it is, when he says something or does something, it's for a reason. It's not a from the fly off the off the cuff kind of pissed off. I'm just going to bomb somebody or do something. It's all well thought out.
Yeah.
And
Well, I talked about this
there's
last week on the show and how the United States spends $198 billion on NATO. So we're just, I think it was like 198. So we're just shy of $1 trillion that we put in to NATO. And that is like 150 billion more than the next player on the table, right?
right.
I mean, the UK, Germany, all of them combined don't equal what we put into NATO. Why do we have to foot the bill for that? Why
Right.
should we? And even the head of NATO came out and said, I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but had Trump not came to these nations and told them they need to up their GDP spending in NATO, they never would have. They would have continued to not pay
You got the
anything.
NATO leader giving him full credit for that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I
But
mean,
but remember the media when Trump went in office the first time, and they talked about how the whole world's laughing at us and he's a buffoon. He has no foreign policy experience. But what he did right away, flew right to Israel, flew right to Saudi Arabia, and he went right to NATO and spoke to him and was like, and everyone was touting him like he doesn't know anything. He's just a real estate dude. He was
yeah,
given all this money. He knows nothing about foreign policy. Blah blah blah. I mean, it's just, that's another thing. Whatever the media says, it's absolutely the opposite.
yeah.
Right.
Well, every nation now, I think, except for one, is spending at least the minimum, which is like 2% of their GDP
Right.
on defense spending, which is what they should be doing.
Right.
It just so happens that 2% of our GDP, well, we're spending like 3.7 or something like that. But
Right.
2% of our GDP is 10 times what the highest country in Europe
But
is.
when you're doing that, just kind of like when the U.S. is the biggest consumer of everything in the world, that gives you the leverage when you say, I'm going to put tariffs in, and
Sure.
your consumer base is about to drop, right?
Yeah.
Or you're going to do this because I spend the most here. I spend the most in this bar than anyone else. So if I want that guy thrown out of the bar, throw him out of the bar,
Sure.
right? Or if I spend the most in this supply house, or I give you the most business, I have leverage. That's the U.S. Right?
Yeah.
That's why the tariff thing happened, and everyone freaked out and thought it's gonna ruin the economy. Now a lot of those experts have come back and said it was the best thing could have happened. Yeah, because you have leverage. Like, look, we're putting this tariff on you. Your customer base is about to dry up because you're either gonna lose a lot of money paying tariffs, or you're going to raise the cost, which means your customers are going to go somewhere else. Your customers being American citizens.
If tariffs are so horrible, why do other countries put them on our goods?
Right. It was just eye for an eye.
Yeah.
That's
I
it.
mean, tariffs should match across the board. If you're willing to go to zero, we'll go to zero.
Right.
But you want to do 5, 10, 20, 50%, we're going to do 50%.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
It's no different than anything else we do in life. Or someone wants to, but the whole concept of how lopsided it was of us charging 5% and them charging us 50 or whatever.
yeah.
It's like, okay, but that's the leverage we have because we're the biggest consumer. So
Well,
use what you can.
I watched a video earlier, and I'm drawing a blank on the gentleman's name, but he's a former Russian that grew up in UK. He's always doing uh, uh, conferences and stuff. But he was talking about what we're seeing now is, for the longest time there was this set of rules, right? That everybody understood what they were, but nobody was playing by except for the United States, right?
Right.
And so now what we're seeing is the United States said, well, if nobody else is playing by the rules, why should we? If there's no consequences for not playing by the rules, why should we be the only ones that are doing it? And so now what you're seeing is with Trump and this administration is flexing that authority and that power, going, hey, unless you're going to go and enforce the rules across the board evenly, take your rules and stick them up your ass, because we're not going to follow them either.
Right.
So,
Right.
and
It's no
that's
different
just
being in a
happens where
boxing
we're at.
ring. You can't put certain rules in a boxing ring on one fighter, not the other. Right.
Yeah.
What's what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And at the end of the day, or a football team or anything, right? It's a
Yeah.
competitor, one against another. And if it's keep it even. If you're going to say this is a requirement of me, then it's a requirement of them. That's it still keeps the playing field even, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. All right, man. We covered a lot tonight.
We did. We did.
Yeah, we are hour 13 in, and it's good to be back. I know we're working on a number of different guests. I've actually was talking today with some folks on another guest coming up on Lima Charlie. So we will hopefully get that going again. And for our listeners and viewers, I mean, if you got someone that has served downrange, deployed anywhere, Vietnam, Korea, any of the global war on terror, whatever, we'd love to have them on our Lima Charlie show. We can record those anytime and have them on there to help tell their story a little bit from downrange. And
Right.
and obviously always looking for guests. Got some people, some past guests I'm talking to. We're going to be getting on here. So, but good to be back with you, Rob. Hopefully we get Toby back on. We haven't talked to him in a while. I know he's been busy too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I'm sure
good,
he's very busy.
yeah. But all right, man. Well, hey, you have a great night. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for tuning in, giving us some of your Thursday night, and good to see you all again and talk with you. So
All
with
right.
that, good night.